Welcome to another interview from Wrestling Express. For this interview, I am with independent wrestler Brimstone. Thank you for joining me.
How you doing, brother? How's everything going?
It's going well. How about you?
Always good. Always a wonderful thing to be alive above ground. So, so what's poppin', kid?
Yeah, I'm glad to be back at my original home for the site, and looking at hoping things pick up like they were last year.
Gotcha. Very cool. So, so it's good for me to be over here at Wrestling Express. People heard a lot of good things about you. Being a professional wrestler, or getting my name for professional wrestling, even though I'm not in the business anymore, or currently at least, it's always good to stay true to your roots and, head back to do any kind of interviews that you possibly can to give back to the community. So, anytime there's an opportunity to speak to somebody like yourself, I'm all for it, looks like you guys got a really cool thing going on there.
Well, thank you very much. That I always like positive feedback.
What can I do for you?
Well, normally how I kick off interviews is letting the guest maybe fill in the fans on how he got into the business, or fill in the fans on that may not know who he is. All
right. Well, I work under the name Brimstone. I've been in the professional wrestling world professionally for close to 20 years. I started at a place called, the infamous Long Island's own Doghouse, that has pretty much raised a ton of amazing talent. It was a breeding ground for a lot of names, including Low Key, Senshi, Cabal, whatever you want to call them, Homicide, Lath on the Tower of Torture, Papa Don, Amazing Red, and the list goes on and on and on. The Grim Reaper. I mean, there's so many names that came out of that place that it was just mind-boggling. What an amazing experience to be a part of one of the initial crews that actually came out of there. I mean, I was one of the very first students at the school, so it was a very, very cool experience, watching the school build and grow and, really take hold of the industry itself. So, we were just a bunch of guys that, were having a good time and learning the ropes and, learning the business. And, it was an honor and a privilege to have been taught there by such amazing guys and amazing staff. From there, I moved along. I've wrestled pretty much anywhere you can think of. I've been retired from the ring now since about 2009, when I started going back to my roots in acting and television and such. I started out my career early on. I was about 5 years old, believe it or not. I started on Sesame Street and Romper Room, and then I toured the world of music before I even stepped foot in the ring. So, even though professional wrestling is what gave me my name, I continued to build and grow and pretty much come into myself, before and during and after. Hopefully I'm making sense to you.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting.
Yeah, so I've done pretty much everything you could think of. Any acronym you could put out there that was around while I was working, I've worked there. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. Nowadays, it's a different business. Back when it was more of a brotherhood. It's still a brotherhood in certain aspects, but it was a different industry back then. and I absolutely loved the business for what it was, not necessarily for what it is. I haven't, but to be fair, I haven't watched in a very, very long time. I have a lot of friends that are still working for Vince, and friends that are working for Dixie, and I think that's fantastic. I'm glad they're doing what they love. But every once in a while, you got to kind of step out of it to kind of move forward with your career, because there are only just so many spots in in WWE or TNA or New Japan and so forth, and everybody's fighting for the same spot. I mean, that's the way it is in entertainment in general. But for me, I didn't necessarily run my course, but at the end of the day, it was just, I wanted to continue to build and brand the name. I didn't want to be 50, 60 in the ring still working. Not saying there's anything wrong with the people that are. Just me personally, I don't want to be that guy. But again, wrestling for just about 20 years, and I started in '96. So what do you call it? It was a lot of I've been Brimstone for just about 20 years. Yeah, so it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. You mentioned how the business is different from when you came in. Now, do you believe that with the advent of the internet that has led to positive changes in the business, or?
I believe that it's led to negative changes in entertainment in general. I believe that anybody who has access to a video camera or a camera phone, can be a superstar. It's where people that have real talent, sometimes don't get the opportunity to be seen, even with those means. You know what I'm saying? Anybody that does something stupid online can, and we're talking about not in professional wrestling, we're talking about in general. Anybody could throw up, a Vine video of somebody tripping and falling and get 1 million views, when you've got somebody who actually has incredible talent and they can't get 3 or 4. The same thing goes for Twitter and Instagram. I mean, you're not taken seriously in the industry unless you have a certain amount of followers on social media. I mean, I happen to be blessed with a very nice following, but at the end of the day, there are people out there that have extreme talent, and they do a lot of amazing things, and do a lot of work to bust their humps to become a name, and they're judged by their social media, they're booked by their social media. So I think the internet, although it's a lot easier for people to be seen, a lot easier for people to be recognized, as far as that they're that they can find I guess promotions easier, or find places that'll book them a little bit easier. At the end of the day, I think that the market is so oversaturated with anybody who has a camera. And again, this goes for entertainment in general. This isn't just professional wrestling. I'm talking about mainly these people that throw up YouTube videos or Vine videos, and they've got millions of hits, where you've got an independent guy who's working hard and getting $50 a show. I mean, at this rate, that's what I hear the numbers are. And what do you call it? This guy's busting his hump, and he just can't get his foot dug deep in the ground. To build that following up, because nobody cares, because it's so oversaturated. And again, I hope I'm making sense. It's a little early, and woke up and just trying to, put it together for you. So, again, I believe that entertainment in general is an amazing experience if you can get involved in it. I do believe that everybody should pay their dues, and everybody should spend their time building up their name. It shouldn't be because of a 5-minute YouTube video or a 4-second Vine video. And I think it's great that the people can do that, but for good reasons, people, not for acting like a fool. And I watch them. Don't get me wrong. I'll sit and I'll watch the stuff with my kids, and and I think some of the stuff is hilarious, but some of the stuff is just dumb. And again, when you've got some amazing singers out there, some amazing musicians out there, and then they'll sit there and they'll be playing in a club to 5 people. You know what I mean? And one of them is their girlfriend, the other one's their mother. Why? Because it's so oversaturated that people don't care. You know what I mean? They don't care about real talent. And the kids nowadays, instead of paying attention to true talent, they're watching people acting fools on the internet. I mean, you know what I'm talking about with Vine and YouTube and so forth. I think it's kind of ridiculous that we have things called Vine celebrities or internet celebrities, and I know a couple, and they're very nice people, and I love a couple of them to death. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's still what you know what I mean? I don't know. It's a weird situation, and I've done internet stuff, so don't get me wrong. It's not that I dislike it. I just think that it's oversaturated and has kind of pulled away from a lot of true talent out there. And I'm not talking about myself in general either. I'm talking about people that I've seen out there struggling. That work hard and they're trying to make a name for themselves.
I completely agree, especially with the oversaturated part. But would you say that maybe in a way the advent of the internet has been good for wrestling because it gave the young guys in the business a distraction and took them away from the old, the way the business used to be?
I think that the internet for wrestling in general. I think that the way wrestling used to be. We used to. There used to be a thing called kayfabe. You know what I mean? Things used to be a secret. They used to be a hidden art. And now we've got every smart mark on the planet who thinks they know the business or thinks they know the people in the business, make comments and they really don't know a damn thing about what the industry is, and they just have a preconceived notion of what it is to be in the industry, and I think that has ruined business to a certain extent. I think that for again independent workers, or guys in the business, young guys coming up, I think again it's good for certain things. It's bad for other things. I mean, I think that old school style was the way to go. You were seen because you were good. People knew who you were because you were good. They treated you like a baseball card. You know what I mean? You went to the different territories. Nowadays, if you have a high number on your social media, you're getting booked. You know what I'm saying? So. And again, and this is, I have not been in directly in the business for about, since 2009. So I don't know how it is, now for some of the boys coming up, except for what I hear. And again, then I see people, who I know well, that are coming into their own in the business. A couple of ladies, a couple of guys, who've really used the internet to their advantage, and have made some serious headway in their careers by utilizing the internet. And but again, it's more so just making connections where you couldn't make those connections before. Social media has helped people make connections, and people travel a little bit more. Even some people that wouldn't necessarily travel are traveling now because of the social media aspect of things. Again, I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I don't know if I can't speak for the viewer, but as far as on my end, yeah, you're making perfect sense. What I was actually referring to was back when you started, or that might have been like at the tail end of it, but there was I don't know if it was so much on the indies back in the 90s, but in the major companies, there was a lot of, partying and stuff like that. And I feel like with, the internet and I don't want to say introduction to video games in the business, but I feel like there's more distractions now to keep the wrestlers in the hotel room rather than at the bars and doing partying.
No, everybody still parties. I mean, and even the old boys still party. See, the thing about wrestling is, doesn't matter what era you're from, you kind of still get sucked into the same old thing. What do you call it? Especially when the boys are around, the old school cats that, everybody wants to, well, the young bucks want to sit and party with them. So, they're not staying in the hotel rooms. They're going out, they're partying, they're having a good time. I mean, I don't know about, anything as far as drugs and drinking and so forth is concerned. Me personally, I've never done drugs. I never did steroids. I never did any kind of drugs. And as far as drinking is concerned, I didn't drink too much. I still don't drink too much. Even though Jack Daniels actually made a drink for me called the Brimstone Red. You can look that up if you'd like. What do you call it? But aside from that, what do you call it? Yeah, man. Like I've never, I don't see any kind of difference in any of that. I don't see any kind of difference in the partying aspect. I mean, what as far as video games and all that jazz is concerned, I mean, the boys are still going to be the boys. You know what I mean? They're going to go out, they're going to party. I mean, again, each person is different. But most people that are in the industry, they're in the industry because they want to be seen, they want to be heard, and sitting around doing nothing is not going to get them anywhere. You know what I mean? They want to be out there, they want to be seen, they want to be heard. So, their best bet is to be out in the public eye, no matter where it is and what's happening. So, I don't see any difference in that. Am I making sense?
Yeah. Well, do you?
Unless maybe you've seen something different, but again, I haven't necessarily been in the industry, like I said, for a while. In entertainment, I could tell you firsthand that 95% of the people that are in the entertainment industry, when I'm out signing at New York Comic Con, San Diego Comic Con, Wizard Worlds, wherever the hell I'm signing, everybody's out. We're all out, in droves partying. Why? Because that's when we get to see each other. That's what we do. You don't necessarily have to be getting ass drunk to be going out and having a good time, but we go out. We have what do you call it? We have a couple of drinks. We break bread, and we have a nice time. So, the boys, maybe they're not getting as wild as they used to, but again, you'd never know. You know what I mean? You'd never know.
True.
I mean, I have some wild stories that are always going to be kept to myself. So,
Mm-hmm.
What people do in their, on the road is their own business. And if they feel like sharing it, they'll share it. But, I don't think that going out and spending time, I don't think internet's going to change that. That it changes the fan. On the fan side, I think it does change. It has changed, where more people will sit and spend their time on the internet playing games or watching videos or watching old videos. If they're a real big wrestling fan, they can have access to videos that they didn't have before. They can educate themselves on the industry that wasn't there before. Now you can find everything online like that. So on the fan side, I certainly can see a big change. One decline in people actually attending events because they're spending more time on the computer. I could see that if that's where you're going with it. But the way it came across is that you were saying more along the lines of the wrestlers themselves. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen a change in your opinion?
I mean, I guess maybe I've just seen a change in, you don't see, especially back in the 80s, you saw a lot of people with heavy drug use, and you don't see that now as much.
absolutely, because you're talking about. All right. Well, first of all, in the independents, you'd never know that. But you're because nobody necessarily is paying that much attention or that close of attention. But absolutely in WWE and TNA, what do you think? What do you think WWE has the policy for? They just got rid of what 5-6 people about 2 weeks ago. You know what I mean? Or I mean Roman Reigns himself, and I don't know what exactly it was for, but he was put out. He was put on what do you call it? I forgot what the hell they call it. I'm sorry, it's first thing in the morning. But what do you call it? Everything. People are getting suspended. Suspended is Roman Reigns was just suspended recently. And again, we don't know what it's for specifically, but it has to do with something that's it has to do with drugs. Considering it's what do you call it? It's just the substance abuse policy. It's the wellness policy. Now, again, that could be anything as little in the grand scheme of things as weed, or it could be, anything up to, steroids or anything else. I don't personally know Roman Reigns. I've heard nothing but good things about Roman Reigns. I think that he is an amazing worker. I personally, I don't know him. But hey, people are getting let go and released left, right, and sideways because there's a no tolerance rule for the drug use. If anything, if anything, you've got WWE in general has put a clamp down on it simply because they're sick of getting pulled into the media on in a bad light. So other than that, though, you would never know. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
So that's where you'd want to look. Like WWE is. I mean, there are plenty of people that are on TNA that are have drug issues. And the thing is with now, see again, I've never done a drug, but I know people that have, and I know that. One reason a lot of the guys do drugs, not talking about steroids, but steroids, they want to look like monsters because they think that that's what they need in order to be successful. Two, as far as the drugs are concerned, a lot of the boys get sucked into the pain meds, because it's a lot of pain on your body. You're putting miles on your body that were not meant to necessarily be put there. You know what I'm saying? So, if somebody who's been in the business for a long time has aches and pains that just won't go away, and sometimes that's why people, get hooked, or they get an injury and then they get hooked on those pain meds. Pain meds are one of the biggest things that there's an issue with in the business. Or you just don't hear about it as much as you think you would. They try to keep it under wraps, and for obvious reasons, and just because somebody has an issue doesn't mean that they can't get clean and can't get taken care of. They can get better. They just need a little help and a little loving guidance. So, and again, I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah. Well, now I just want to ask, I want to ask your opinion as to maybe which side you would be on, because in a few interviews that Vince Russo's done, he said that it doesn't matter what type of wrestling it is. If a wrestling fan sees wrestling in the title, they'll watch it. Do you agree with that still, or do you think that it's different now?
I disagree 110%. The hardcore wrestling fans will watch if they're just because there's wrestling in the title. That I will agree with. However, I disagree in the fact that people are very particular. Here, to give you, and I'm going to take it away and then bring it back. WWE does not, I repeat, does not promote to the actual wrestling fan. They don't care what the actual wrestling fan thinks. They don't care. They don't give a damn. Okay, they're marketing to the people outside of professional wrestling. That's why anybody on the street, they know John Cena, they know Hulk Hogan, they know The Rock. You know what I'm saying? They don't care. They're promoting to the casual fan. Why? Because the casual fan is in masses. They're in mass, where the wrestling fan is few and far between. That true wrestling fan that knows everything and anything there is to do about the business. That's not, they're a dime a dozen. So they're not a dime a dozen. You know what I mean? The casual wrestling fan is what's a dime a dozen. So in the grand scheme of things, to bring it back, people feel that if it's not WWE, that it's not wrestling at all. Well, if you're not in WWE, well then that's not a real wrestler. You know what I'm saying? That's what people think. That's people's mindset. So just because it has wrestling in it, totally not true. People would not watch WCW when it was there. Okay, WCW, they were what do you call it? They did not watch as much as they watched WWE. I mean, they were getting crushed in the ratings for quite some time. TNA still, have you ever been to a TNA show?
Yeah.
TNA show has a total of maybe a couple hundred people in there. It's only a half an arena. I mean, it's with a big hard cam right in the center. I mean, when I went to TNA to talk to them, to talk to Dixie about working with them, it was a complete, it's a totally different animal. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not the same. It's not the same draw as a WWE, and Vince knows it. And, that's all the boys know it, and that's why everybody wants to work for WWE. So again, just because it has wrestling in it does not mean people will show up. Otherwise, the business would be tremendous and booming, and there would be a lot of talent that should be in the big show at the big show right now. Hope I'm making sense.
Yeah, you are.
I think so is an amazing talent. He's an intelligent guy. I mean, I just think that's a very bold remark to say just because it has wrestling in it, the wrestling fans will watch. I don't find that to be the case. There are a lot of wrestling promotions that have failed tremendously because they thought that just because it said wrestling, just because it was wrestling, that people would come. I've seen. I've wrestled in front of thousands. I've wrestled in front of tens. You know what I mean? So I you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you draw, you draw, and it's not wrestling. A lot of the time people are coming for the talent themselves. So if you draw, people come to see you. You're putting asses in seats.
Mm-hmm.
Then maybe there's going to be a big crowd. If you have a bunch of unknowns that are working in a what do you call it, in a school gym, you know what I'm saying? You might have the people that they're selling tickets to, but they're not real wrestling fans per se. They're people that are coming to support what's happening. Again, I feel as though wrestling itself is it works in peaks and valleys. Sometimes it's really big. Sometimes it's really low on the totem pole. Certainly, and a lot of fans, the wrestling fans, are fickle. They come and go. They're not always around. They're not always paying attention to what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
They watch, and then after watching for a year, then they dip out for a couple of years, and they come back and remember what they used to love, and then things are different, and then the boys are different. A lot of people, they don't even remember some of the guys. Like I've signed at events where I'll have a lot of people there to see me because I do things other than wrestling, and I see other guys that are there that were working for WWE. And people don't even go to speak to them. And I wonder, I'm like, how is this? Why is this? It's because wrestling fans are forgetful. They're fickle. They're into what's then and there. A lot of the old school guys, you know what I mean? A lot of the legends of the sport, they'll be at the events. They'll have lines of people, or they'll have nobody. And when they do have people coming up, it's just to say, I remember when you were doing this, or I remember watching you there. How many 8x10s are they going to pick up? You know what I mean? So it's a constant struggle for somebody who is a professional wrestler. The reason why a lot of the boys are crossing over now, like The Rock and Cena and the other guys that are trying to make their way into other forms of entertainment, is because that's really where the mainstay is. That's where, where the career lengthening happens. You might always have a major name in the sport, like Jimmy Superfly Snuka. People will know who Snuka is for years and years and years and decades to come. Same thing for Bruce the Barber Beefcake and Greg the Hammer Valentine, and these are friends of mine, and they have amazing names. But what do you call it? At the end of the day, they're not currently on television, and the wrestling fan is very fickle, and the younger guys, the younger kids that are out there don't necessarily know who they are, and they're more concerned, like you said earlier, with the internet and video games, and they're not paying attention to the old school guys. So just because it's wrestling doesn't mean they're going to buy. Just because it's wrestling doesn't mean they're going to show up. Doesn't mean they're going to support. If that was the case, then there would be, things would be a lot better for a lot more people. And again, I hope I'm making sense, and I hope I'm not coming off the wrong way. I think that if the fans were just a little bit, more supportive of a lot of the boys, they wouldn't be in a lot of the situations they're in. A lot of people are in very bad financial stress. I'm not going to say who they are, but there's, because they don't have the support that you would think. That's why a lot of guys, you see guys who within the last couple of years who were bounced off WWE, and now they're working at gas stations. You know what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a very big fall from grace. A lot of the young guys think that it's going to last forever. But no, it's really how long the writing team or the powers that be want to keep you up in that spotlight. They can have it come crashing down on that, and then it's it's all what the fans remember last. Again, and I hope I'm making sense. My brain is a little bit of a mush. I've been touring for the last 2 months straight, in and out doing the radio show, and my sitting watching my daughter play wiffle ball while talking to you. So my brain's kind of like mush, and but since I'm home, I gotta soak up as much family time as I can get. That's. I hope I'm making sense to you. And, That's pretty much it, man. What do you call it? If anybody wants to check me out, my official website is www.entrancetohell.com. I'm a nice guy. It's just a gimmick. You can catch me on Twitter at entrancetohell, on Instagram at @therealbrimstone. What do you call it? If you have iHeartRadio, I have a show called The Grindhouse Radio. We're getting between 3.5, 4 million listeners weekly worldwide. We're on 17 networks syndicated. iHeartRadio, we go, our new shows are up every single week, Thursday nights, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you can listen to some of the old shows and see some back shows where I have some amazing guests on. If you're a wrestling fan, find the wrestling episode where I have some of my friends from the business on. Yeah, man. Aside from that, hope you all have a good time watching wrestling.
Well, thank you, my friend, for joining me.
No problem, brother. Hopefully we'll see you again real soon, and next time I won't be a little mush.
Sounds great.
Take care, brother.
You too.
You too.
And to you, if you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this that you can only find right here at Wrestling Express. Till next time. Later.